We always say to our clients when they're hesitant about spending their money, and we always say, it's your money, right? It's your money. And we want you to be a strong advocate for yourself and know that we're stewards. We're simply helping you and making sure that you have the most successful financial opportunity and retirement plan, right? But ultimately, this is your money. And we're simply trying to take care of it for you and make sure that you're maximizing the opportunity.
Yeah, we do this because we like to see our clients enjoying their lives. So it gives us great joy to see our clients have great joy in their lives.
So hello and welcome to Integrated Wealth Perspectives. This is a podcast by Saltmarsh Financial Advisors, where we explore the intersection of investments, taxes, risk management, estate plans, and much, much more. I'm Michael Hall. I'm the Managing Director of Saltmarsh Financial Advisors, and I'm joined today by Associate Financial Advisor Sarah Horn and Christina Doss, who is a Director and shareholder in our firm. Well, here we are, episode 1 of what we hope to be many episodes, and today we're having a conversation about wealth management for women. And we'll dive into that here in just a few minutes, but I just want to share, I'm excited about this. This is a first for us. And so we're going to have fun with it. And we're probably going to learn a few things along the way as well. But I wanted to take a moment to have both of you share a little bit about yourselves, what drew you into this career, because we have an amazing team here and both of you are a huge part of that. And so if you don't mind, we'll start with Sarah. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what drew you to this line of work, this career.
Hey there, my name is Sarah Horn. I am an associate financial advisor here with Saltmarsh, and I'm a certified financial planner professional. And there were a number of things that drew me to this career field, but the piece of it that I want to share today has to do with my childhood and my relationship with my mother. So unfortunately, I lost my dad at a young age. And so my mom was widowed at a young age. And I was able to see firsthand how valuable my parents' financial planning was because it enabled me to really go through my life, through my childhood, not wanting for much because they had taken such care to build a plan that they knew would sustain them even in these challenging times, like losing a spouse. And so I was able to see what that meant to my mother to have financial security even after my dad passed away, and what it meant for me as a daughter to just see my parents having planned for those worst case scenarios. And so I'm really privileged to work here at Saltmarsh Financial Advisors, where we work with both men and women, but I really enjoy specifically working with women, whether they have had an experience like my mom or like me in their lives. It's really a privilege and an honor to be able to serve them. So that's a little bit about my background that I felt would be relevant in this episode.
Yeah, I've known your story, and I'm glad to hear you share that with our viewers here because it is very personal, and I feel that a lot of advisors find that pass that p- through personal experiences and realizing the impact that you can make in this career. So thank you for sharing that. So Christina, tell us more about yourself and how you got into this and what made you stay, right? It's been a
Yeah,
career now.
it has been. So I'm on my 33rd year in wealth management and financial planning, and actually started at an early age. But my background is that I am the daughter, wife, and mother of Marines and have personally lived through many deployments in supporting those men in my life. And I watched my mom, who was a very, very strong woman, but back in the day, it was not uncommon for the male to pretty much kind of run the financial household. But when dad would go on deployments, mama had to step up and she was really good at it. She took control and I watched her navigate that over the years. And I just remember when I met my husband and we decided to get married, another Marine. It was actually my husband who said, here, you take this. I'm going to be gone a lot. So he kind of handed the financial reins to me at a very early age. And truthfully, I was happy to accept it. I've had a passion for investing and planning from a very early age, just kind of one of those weird quirks where I did a lot of research and was really interested in it. and decided that this is something I wanted to do. Truthfully, back then there weren't a lot of women in financial services. So I've had a wonderful career and opportunity to be able to navigate that, starting back in the late 80s and early 90s, and have been in many different roles, many roles that didn't even exist, and worked for some great companies, but was very happy to come here over 12 years ago and help really get our financial planning and wealth management practice up and running and helping to build the practice we have and serving our clients.
It's a very meaningful story. And again, it's that personal connection, that personal history that kind of drives our purpose and in our careers here. So thank you for sharing very much. I'll share just a tiny bit about myself. I started in this business in 2002, April 15th, 2002. So it's been 24 years for me, not quite as long as Christina's career, but I loved everything about this career and the role, not only because I feel like it's very important work. It makes an impact on all of our clients' lives and for the better, but it's challenging work. It is never the same day twice, and that's one of the things that I love about what I do. Every challenge, every question that we answer for clients is very unique. There are some consistencies, right? Some principles that we know everyone needs to follow when it comes to building financial security, but I love how unique every situation is, and I've always enjoyed the challenges. And it's been an honor to serve our clients and work with a team just like the one we have here. So all that is sort of set aside now. So what I want to do is get into the topic for today. So we're talking about wealth management for women. And this is a roundtable discussion, so I want to make sure that everybody understands we're all going to be asking questions and contributing. But there are so many things that we prescribe or recommend for investors and clients that are universal. Whether you're male or female, save early, live within your means, keep an eye on the long-term view and your long-term goals. But today, we're drilling down on what unique aspects of wealth management really apply to female investors and female clients? And I understand a lot of that comes down to things like longevity. And in my experience, a lot of that comes down to communication as well. We're often communicating a lot of the same things, but we adjust how we communicate depending on the person sitting across the table from us. And so I would love to hear in your own words, what have you noticed over your careers is how you adjust, or maybe things that you view slightly differently when you're working with female clients versus male clients? Christina, let's start with you. What are some of the things you've noticed over the years and that you focus on?
Well, I tell you, Mike, and that's a really good question. I think that there's a lot of similarities between men and women, but distinctly with women, they don't really have a preference from what I've seen as far as gender of the advisor that they work with. But instead, what they're looking for is somebody that they can build chemistry with, that's somebody that they can trust. And it's not uncommon that we see, and Sarah and I have worked pretty closely together for the past several years, and we have a lot of female clients. It's not uncommon that after a divorce or the loss of a spouse, women may change advisors. And some of what they have shared with us, the reason that they choose to make a change is because they don't feel like they have that chemistry with that advisor, that maybe the advisor was speaking more to their spouse than to them, or speaking a language that they didn't understand. So what we have found is bringing that conversation to a level where it's not intimidating, not using the financial jargon, and listening, stopping to listen and really understand what's top of mind, and allowing truthfully some of the emotions that may come out. Because again, in many cases, we're dealing with what can be situations that are very challenging, and there is a lot going on. with these women that they need to navigate. And so we really have to pause and be respectful of that and allow them that opportunity to process, to heal, and to be part of the plan moving forward. And I will share this because this is a statistic that grabbed my attention years ago, and it's a bit shocking, and it should have everybody sit up and pay attention, is that 90% of all women will eventually be solely responsible for their own financial well-being and their family's financial well-being at some point in the future due to divorce or death, and women just naturally typically live longer. And so there is a huge opportunity for women to influence kind of the legacy and financial lives of their families. And we are a big part of that. It's so making that connection and working closely and well with them is critical. But Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. I totally agree with you, Christina. And I think one thing I try to keep at the front of my mind is that no client is exactly like another, and no woman is exactly like another. And so I think it really behooves us as advisors to be agile and able to adapt to the woman or the client that's in front of us. And there are women who kind of come to us from all levels of the spectrum in terms of financial interest or education. And so I think it's important for us to be able to work with them no matter what background they're coming to us from, and to, respect what they want from us as well. Some clients are really interested in getting in the nitty-gritty, and some clients are really not, and they just would rather trust that they have their team behind them serving their interest. And so I think that's important to remember. But as a second kind of distinguishing factor in working with women, and one of the reasons I really enjoy working with women, is they tend to be so incredibly generous and so interested in leaving a legacy or supporting their family or causes that they really care about. And so, from a financial planning perspective, it's so important for us to be able to come alongside them and show them that they can build financial plans that will benefit those causes or family members that they care about. But
Mhm.
first and foremost, they need to take care of themselves and kind of put on your own oxygen mask before helping the passenger beside you. That's really what we do as advisors, is to help confirm, yes, maybe this client is on the right track, or maybe there are some adjustments that need to be made before they have the security to be able to give to causes or family members that they really feel strongly about. That's both an attribute that I really enjoy about women, but one thing that I've noticed is pretty typical of women, maybe more so than men, is the generosity element.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to ask you a question though, because one of the things that, I mentioned was that generally speaking, women don't really have a preference around the gender of the advisor that they work with. It's building chemistry and trust. And, we have you as well as other male advisors on our team. Why don't you speak a little bit about how you build a relationship with female clients?
Yeah, I think this kind of comes back to personal experience, but I live in a household with many women. I have two daughters and my wife, and was essentially raised for a portion of my life by a single mother. And so I have a tremendous amount of respect for the women in my own life, but I think that one of the things I've always focused on is number one, taking a genuine interest in the person I'm speaking with. Every person has a story that makes them unique and interesting, and really getting to the point where you want to know more about them really drives a lot of very natural respect, curiosity. And so that's universal, I would say, no matter who's sitting across the table from me. But I find that that approach is also very effective in establishing trust, open lines of communication. And Christine, I think earlier you touched on sort of the emotions, and Sarah, you spoke about, the emotions that women sometimes feel a little more strongly than men, or at least they express them a little bit more freely. And, we are there to recognize that emotion, whether that's concern or happiness, positive or negative emotions, validate those understand that those are real and warranted in a lot of cases, and then we can move into conversations about how we may solve for an issue or help them become more comfortable. And so I think it just starts with the genuine interest and curiosity in your client. But I find that that is more important for a lot of the female clients I've worked with over the years. Not all, everyone's on a spectrum, with their personality. And there are some women that I've worked with that are very sort of empirical, detail oriented drivers, if you will. Give me bullet points. Let's do this, this, and this. Um, but by and large, I would say most of my female clients over the years have responded really well to me slowing down a little bit sometimes, giving more time to listen, validate their feelings or their thoughts on things, and then moving forward with a conversation or a plan. So that's been my approach, and
Yeah.
it's worked.
One of the things that when we talk in terms of women as investors, and I think that's a great point, when you give women a chance to be able to process, and sometimes it might be a circular processing, it may not be a straight line, right? I mean, we need to revisit on things. Women generally have the basic building blocks to be incredibly successful, really good investors. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that from the standpoint of the fact that, I mentioned that my generation and even earlier, a lot of women were really running the households. They were running the household finance. They may not be doing the investing, but they were definitely hands on with managing those household budgets. And when you also look at the fact that women have a tendency to focus on goals, and they will, generally speaking, they don't get distracted real easily. They will be very single-minded in achieving those goals. And I will tell you, we've also noticed that when you look in terms of, and we've seen a lot of this recently, where you've got a lot of market volatility, many women, they don't get distracted by that short-term volatility. They're focused on the long game, the noise and the emotions of the news and all, get in the way. But what else do you guys see that really helps women from the standpoint of being successful investors? And what do you see as kind of the things that are some of the best practices that we see women engage in?
Something that I've observed about women that I think lends them well into being successful investors is their interest in learning and also seeking advice and opinions from others. They want to know, how are their friends handling things? How are successful investors handling things? But I would say one of the important pieces that comes along with their interest in both learning and also hearing how trusted friends and family members are handling things is to ensure that they really do trust the people whose opinions they're seeking and seeking qualified opinions. So, looking for financial professionals who serve as a fiduciary is incredibly important. That just means that the advisor or the financial planner is bound to serve the client's best interest. And not every individual in the financial planning profession is bound to that standard. So there are many different professions that can use the term financial advisor or financial planner, but a couple of the key designations to look out for, things like CFP, that certified financial planner designation, the accredited asset management specialist designation that Christina holds is another very highly regarded standard. And so doing your research as a woman to kind of find out whose interest is that advisor serving and what evidence is available publicly to kind of point you in that direction, because it unfortunately not every advisor is held to that fiduciary standard. So that's something I would look out.
A good point, Sarah.
I believe that women are very good with context. Context is important to them. I'll say myself and a lot of other men, I know we have a tendency to just give me the bullet points, the bottom line, it is what it is. But the women in my life are much more interested in the context of what needs to be done or why we're doing something. And I think that actually serves women very well in a lot of areas of investing because, as you pointed out, Christina, they've got that context in their mind when they're maybe the markets are going up and down, but they are viewing their portfolio and their plan in that much longer timeline. They know that markets are up or down today, up today 1,000 points on the Dow as we're speaking now, they're not going to get overly excited because they know that the context is their retirement, which may be 5, 10, 15 years out. It can also hinder them a little bit. So much context and so much research or thinking about it can lead sometimes to a paralysis by analysis type of situation. But that's then where we come in, giving clients the time to process and research and think about things, but then also knowing when is the time that we need to take the next step forward. So I think that helps a lot of female advisors that they have that great view of context. And occasionally we have to step in and say, yes, context is important and it's good to understand, but at some point we have to take action and move forward. And that's what we're there to do.
That's
I
good.
would
Good
like to
comment.
I'd like to take a moment maybe and let's focus on some of the things that maybe are unique to women's financial planning and investment needs that may differ from men. Maybe hit some highlights here. One of the things that we often talk about is the fact that women live longer. And I would love to hear from both of you, what are some of the planning items that are unique to our female clients that may not apply as often to some of our male clients? Sarah, I'll start with you. What are some of the things that you think we do a little bit differently when we're planning for a female client versus a male client?
I can touch on a few ideas. One is that if we're working, with a couple, a male and female couple, we really want to engage the woman as much or more than the man because we understand that women do historically and typically live longer than men. And so it's important for us to be able to have that trusting relationship with her as well as her husband because heaven forbid he does pass away, we want to still be able to serve her really well. So we encourage both members of a couple to engage with us and to be involved in the planning process. But from a more practical perspective, if we're working with a woman, we want to make sure that we're building an investment portfolio that's really going to serve her well through her life expectancy and through that longevity. And we do find that sometimes women are more inclined to invest in a more conservative way unless they've been guided by a professional who can help them kind of understand the importance of balancing that risk and return with the long time horizon. So that's something that we would certainly consider in working with women is how much risk are they comfortable taking, but also how much risk do they need to take to ensure that their assets are going to last not just to retirement, but through retirement to the end of their end of and if a woman is really interested in leaving money behind to her heirs, her kids, her family, charities she cares about, again, that's a financial need that we need to account for when establishing an investment portfolio. So these are the kinds of things that we consider. Another one that's a little bit even more specific is long-term care planning. That's a really important piece because long-term care costs just continue to go up, and long-term care insurance policies can help with that. But not every woman is coming to us at the age where it's really financially feasible to buy a long-term care insurance policy. So being sure that you're baking in those sort of worst case scenarios into a financial plan, knowing that a woman is more likely to stay for a longer period of time in a long-term care facility than a man is as well. So these are the kinds of things that we're keeping in mind when working with women. We also will talk to each individual about their sort of genetics and their parents' life expectancy, grandparents, and those kinds of things. And so we can kind of tailor to each scenario to the extent that we can read the future. But it's always important to be cautious and to just think through the different ways that this can impact a woman's financial situation.
So longevity plays in a couple of different ways. Not only do we have longer timelines, but oftentimes in couples, the wife can care for the husband in a little bit of an incapacity situation, but typically the wife doesn't always have the support around her in the cases of those incapacity situations. I wanted when you said with a couple, we want to make sure and interact with both, right? Engage both members of a couple. One of my favorite movies is My Big Fat Greek Wedding. If you've not seen it, it's a wonderful romantic comedy.
Yes.
But there's a great scene where the matriarch is telling her daughter, says, yes, the man, he may be the head of the household, but the woman, she is the neck, and she can turn the head any way she wants. And so A lot of times, we may be engaging one member of a couple thinking we're engaging the decision maker, not always the case. So we want to make sure we engage everybody who's got a seat at the table or stake in the whole situation. Christina, I know Sarah covered a number of things there, but any particular items that you find are key to helping women manage their wealth and their financial future better versus men?
So Sarah said it really well, and she covered a lot of ground there with respect to, we say it all the time, it's the start early, right? Women in many cases have a shorter period of time in the workforce potentially because we are that sandwich generation. We're taking care of kids, we're taking care of parents. Interestingly enough, another statistic, it is typically the eldest female child who ends up being the caregiver for their parents. I just went through this myself with a decade of caring for my parents, and that included their financial well-being. So we have that shorter history of working potentially. And so we've got to make sure that we are saving early, that we're treating those savings towards our retirement like a bill. It needs to be something that you're doing every month consistently. Sarah also commented about don't get too conservative too quickly. We can't say that enough. It's really important that you're thinking in terms of the full package, the financial planning and how much risk you should and need to take. But women do have a tendency to be more conservative and hold more cash on the sidelines. We frequently see as women start to build wealth, they put a larger pool of those assets into a savings account, which is fine. We want you to have an emergency savings account, but if you overload that, those are less assets that are working harder for you. Truthfully, cash will never keep up with the rate of inflation. And so that in and of itself is its own risk. Sarah also talked about long-term care. We are seeing this more and more, that interest in it. It is a hedging strategy, and the new policies today, frankly, to offer all kinds of opportunity with minimal risk. And so we really encourage women to look into that, and couples. There are certainly wonderful opportunities to have policies that can benefit both. But I would say that, as a general rule, you've just got to plan for that longevity, and working with a planner who is putting this and packaging it into what is a customized financial plan for you is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your children and your grandchildren, because it is truly the case that you are planning for those next generations. And there is a huge opportunity to be able to pass along great wealth to that next generation if you do that planning properly and you start early.
Absolutely. I feel like so much of what we've covered today is good input, good advice for, as I said earlier, not only clients, but advisors as well who might be watching this on how to engage all their clients. But one thing I would like to make sure and pass along to anyone, an investor who is seeking out some advice for themselves, I encourage you to advocate for yourself. There are several high profile financial professionals out there, industry giants, who their tagline is, get involved in your financial future, stay involved. As I said in the beginning, I know there are probably some women out there who could be intimidated by working with a financial advisor, whether or not that advisor is male or female. Maybe they just have that reservation. And I would like to encourage each and every one of them. You have the right to advocate for yourself. You have the right to engage, get involved. If you don't understand something, demand that someone explain it to you. I know that oftentimes as advisors, financial professionals, we do tend to fall back into jargon sometimes. Sometimes we find ourselves explaining something that we've been working with for 20 or 30 years, and we may incorrectly assume that the person we're speaking to understands what we're talking about, but it's new to them. And we will do our best to try and remember that and stay away from the jargon. But I encourage all investors, male or female, if there's something that's not clear, demand that your advisor or whoever you're speaking with explains what they're talking about. You need to understand. But I feel that is more critical for a lot of female investors because they may be a little more hesitant to press for that explanation or to admit that they may not understand what's being discussed. So I think that's very important for
You bring up a
female.
good point, and I'm gonna add this in because we do see this frequently where, women in particular, because they may be a little bit intimidated about asking questions or don't know what question to ask. When you look in terms of portfolio management and financial planning, the world of wealth management and the profession itself has not always been the most transparent with respect to fees, costs. What are you paying for your advisory relationship? What are you paying with respect to those internal fees on your portfolio? It's important that you know that and you ask because the impact on returns is driven by what you're paying in fees. Ultimately, that does have an impact. And so you should always ask those questions. Sarah brought up the point about, are you a fiduciary? Ask those questions. And what does that mean? Ask questions to an advisor. What's your investment philosophy? We all have a philosophy, and you need to make sure that it's a philosophy that you agree with and that you understand. What's the why and the rationale behind it? So I agree with you, Mike. We need to encourage all our clients, but in particular women, to be advocates for themselves and to ask good questions.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add, if I could, this is like any relationship. Communication is a two-way street. We need, as advisors, we need to know if there's something that you want more information on or aren't quite understanding or don't agree with, because we want to have the opportunity to understand where you're coming from, and if it's a chance for us to kind of educate and help understand why we're recommending this thing, or the why behind our investment philosophy, like Christina mentioned. We want to engage with you in a meaningful two-way conversation. This is not just the advisor knows all and we're just going to tell you what to do and you just agree. No, we absolutely want our clients to be bought in and agree, because otherwise it's just not as productive of a relationship as it can be. So by all means, if you're a female investor and you're working with an advisor, I would absolutely encourage you to have open and honest dialogue. Ask questions. And if you don't know what question to ask the advisor, what questions should I be asking you? And they can provide you some guidance. And so I feel really passionately about women being empowered in their financial lives and having partnerships with advisors and other professionals who can guide them in their best interest. And so please certainly ask questions.
We always say to our clients when they're hesitant about, for one thing, spending their money, and we always say, it's your money, right?
Mhm.
It's your money. And we want you to be a strong advocate for yourself and know that we're stewards. We're simply helping you and making sure that you have the most successful financial opportunity and retirement plan, right? But ultimately, this is your money. And we're simply trying to take care of it for you and make sure that you're maximizing the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, we do this because we like to see our clients enjoying their lives, because we've helped them do that by helping invest their money, plan with their wealth. So it gives us great joy to see our clients have great joy in their lives. And so we want to do whatever we can to encourage our clients to do that.
Whatever it takes to get your finances to translate into fulfillment, right? That's really the end goal. It's not money for money's sake. This is about quality of life and putting people at ease and allowing them to enjoy their life. And so, to Christina's point about fees, what are you paying? And then also understand what you're getting, right, for that. Yes, if you're going to use a registered investment advisor like Saltmarsh, there are going to be fees with that. But what are you getting? Well, you're getting insight, you're getting the investment management, you're getting assistance with major financial decisions, but more importantly, you're getting time back in your life. We know many of our clients have had a lot of opportunity to build wealth over the course of a career. They're very successful professionals, and now they want to travel the world, spend time with their
Enjoy life.
grandchildren. The idea of burning time every week with a spreadsheet or watching the news and their investments, that's not where they want to spend their time. So the fee that we charge is worth far more to the client in their time and quality back, in their life than what the expense is. At some point in the timeline, we may have clients that need trust services, or they may need essentially the bookkeeping service to make sure that their bills get paid and things like that. But that's just time back in their life. They can outsource that stuff to us, and they can focus on the things that make them happy. And so fees are important. Value that you get is probably the most important. So we've covered a lot today, and I know we're nearing the end of our time here for this conversation. But any parting thoughts on this from either of you? Anything you'd like to say directly to a client to encourage them their next steps, what they may want to do?
I would say that, as a final thought, it's kind of as we started, women, all of our clients have the opportunity to build a great legacy. And it all starts with really being intentional and planning for their future. It's the starting early, it's building a relationship with an advisor that has their best interest at heart, that's sitting on the same side of the table with them, and that's providing, Michael, to your point, great value that's going to take them through life events that are going to change over time. Needs, goals, and objectives will change over time. And it's our job to be there to help them navigate all of those different events and prepare them to have a successful investment experience and a fruitful retirement.
I would just say as a parting thought that whether you've been engaged in your financial life for a long time or this is something that's new to you, I would encourage you to trust yourself, trust your gut, and don't let fear of making a mistake keep you from taking the first step. There are lots of resources available to you, including trustworthy financial advisors like you would find here at Saltmarsh.
Excellent. Yes. And so I want to say a heartfelt thank you to both of you. Of course, I have the pleasure of working with you both every day, and I'm excited about some more clients or prospects, getting to engage with you and the rest of the team. I want to say thank you for those of you who are listening or viewing. We are very appreciative of the time you've taken out of your day to join us, and we hope that you found something that's helpful here in this podcast today. If you'd like to know more, please reach out. We'd love to talk to you. So thank you again to everyone, and we will look forward to seeing you again on the next episode.
Sorry, here we go. I'm just gonna rewind and so cut. Karen, I'm sorry. All right, and uncut.
Take two.
Take two. Sorry, I've been the problem child on this recording, but I'll get it. I'll get it eventually.
The information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute personalized financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Every individual's financial situation is unique. Listeners should not rely on the content of this podcast as a basis for any financial decision. We strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, or attorney before taking any action based on information heard during the show. Saltmarsh Financial Advisors LLC operates in connection with the brand Saltmarsh. Saltmarsh is the brand name under which Saltmarsh CPAs Incorporated and Saltmarsh Cleveland & Gunn provide professional services. Saltmarsh CPAs Incorporated and Saltmarsh Cleveland & Gunn practice as alternative practice structure in accordance with the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct and applicable law, regulations, and professional standards. Saltmarsh CPAs Incorporated is a licensed independent CPA firm that provides a test of services to its clients. Saltmarsh Cleveland & Gunn and its subsidiary entities, which are not licensed CPA firms, provide tax, advisory, and other non-attest services to its clients. The entities falling under the Saltmarsh brand are independently owned and are not liable for the services provided by any other entity providing the services under the Saltmarsh brand. Our use of the terms our firm and we and us in terms of similar import denote the alternative practice structure conducted by Saltmarsh CPAs Incorporated and Saltmarsh Cleveland & Gunn. Thank you.